Welcome again, everyone, to the Weekly Joe podcast. This is episode 5. I'm Paul Graham. I'm your host. I'm here again. Everybody wave. Hunter Johnson, Meghan Dennis, Roger Myers, Drew Champlin here. And finally, Griffin Smith back from a hiatus overseas. Welcome back. Fun trip to Scotland.
Yeah, it was great. Played the old course at St. Andrews and drank whiskey and saw some Highland cows. So my wife was happy. So
very nice. Fun trip it looked like, and glad to have you back. You missed a fun one last week, but we'll get into another one this week. We are in the final week of the SEC season, getting ready for the SEC tournament to be held here in Dangerous Hoover next week. Getting ready for regionals. A lot to talk about. The season is kind of crystallized. You kind of figure out by the 8th or 9th week of the season, your record might say you are what you are, and you get what you deserve. I think we're shaping up to be, around what we expected beginning of the year. It seems like we had an over-under on conference wins when we did this first one back in the Spaces format. I think I used 15.5, kind of going off our 16 last year. Remember what you guys picked? Anybody go up or down on that? Do you remember?
I think I went over. I think I said 16 and 14.
Right.
I said 16. I'm sure I said 16 and 14.
16.
Yeah, I know I was over. So
yeah,
but we were all just gumping though.
We were.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But, a reasonable expectation. I mean, we're gonna fall short of 16. Conceivably could get to 15, and then who knows what happens in Hoover next week. With the tournament shaping up and getting more opportunities, going to be in the Tuesday round, the single elimination round. If you can get to double, to make a little noise, we'll see how it all shapes up. This week we're discussing the weekend that was the LSU series. Big series win for us. I should say it's not very often that we pull off a series win. Who had the superlatives or the numbers on that? Give me the when was the last time?
2016 in Baton Rouge, 2011 at home. And they had won the last 14 out of 16.
14 of 16. So 13 years since we had won a series with LSU at home. So a pretty monumental event. And when you look at the way this home season shaped up, series wins over Tennessee, series win over LSU, series win over Arkansas, series win over South Carolina, and got one from A&M out of 3 when they were ranked number 1. So pretty memorable home slate, I thought. You guys satisfied with the home slate? We go 9-6 in the SEC at home with that slate. What you
Absolutely,
expect?
But I felt like that Friday night game this past weekend might have been the best of all of them.
Yeah. Life or death, it felt like, as that one got toward the end, because if you lose that one, you face Saturday night with Luke Holman going. And you saw what Luke. I mean, Luke's Luke. I mean, Luke he wasn't spectacular Saturday night, and we'll get into that. But coming off a loss that night, and then you got to face Luke, you feel pretty good about winning Sunday because you probably got a better arm going against their Johnny Hull staff. But that would have been a pretty desperate situation, I think, had you hung an L that night, and we were we were a very competent throw to first away from that happening.
Yes.
So the Friday night that Hunter speaks of, almost a mirror image of the Troy game in the regional last year, which was our second game of that regional. Again, in the regional, that second one, you win that one, you position yourself to basically win the regional because you're undefeated. Everybody else has got to scramble back from the dead. We win this one on a walk-off throwaway by the catcher on a runner who probably was not going to beat this out, and not the most fleet of foot runner. That play, he calls off the pitcher. I mean, that is the play there. Let your pitcher take it. Just you guys.
I mean, if he covered the plate, the pitcher takes it, he probably gets the runner at the plate.
Normally, your catcher takes that play. He started off, our good friend Bernard Robert noted that he started off with he was on one knee. Like a lot of catchers these days, they start on one knee when there's like not a runner on that's going to steal. And so he came out of the stance a little bit differently, and then he calls him off, and the lefty pitcher would have had to turn and throw. Probably still could have gotten him with a good throw, but I think maybe his poor fundamentals helped us out there.
Right. Hey, you guys, you mentioned it, that the one knee down, it's kind of the thing right now, a little bit like the old Tony Pena, one knee, one leg out, that not many guys did, but he did it mainly to get down low. You like that? I mean, is it something that's going to go away? Is somebody coaching that in Little League nowadays? Or, I mean, where's that coming from?
It's definitely analytic driven to try to frame and get the low strike call.
Get the low. Yeah.
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 Yeah, Bernard really gets all over him. He wants some catcher squatting. He's mentioned that to me multiple times every weekend.
Yeah. Does he want the right hand on the back of the glove too? Is he
Watch it in, use both hands.
Well, it doesn't make sense though, because with Bernard, with him being a sinker ball guy, you'd think that he would want his catcher to be as low as possible,
right?
In order to, he's working down in the zone. Bernard wasn't an overpowering guy. Mm-hmm. Hell, I wish I would have had some catchers that would have done that. I mean, it's obviously analytic driven. I don't think it's going anywhere. I think this is a freak instance of it not working out. Right.
To me, it was just an aggressive play. It's the catcher. I'm going to make the play. I'm going after it. I'm going hell bent at the ball. If I can't really get called off by the pitcher because he's running. So the thing went further than he anticipated. I mean, the bunt, they want a bunt, but it was a swinging bunt. The thing might have gone 30 feet. Maybe it was halfway to the mound, a little further than you would probably expect the catcher to run out and get it. But then he just doesn't plant. He throws off of, his side foot and throws it up the line and a hell of a collision there at first.
I was going to say, he was probably thinking that Bill Hammeter, if he made contact, was going to hit a piss missile like he'd been hitting, all the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, every single time he comes to the plate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Bill was, for that night, 2 for 5 on the night. I'm sure that I don't remember. Sure, we didn't get a hit on that play. Maybe they gave it to him. It's his score.
But also in that game, you're down 7-3. Like, you feel like you're totally, I mean,
desperation.
I was gumping, so I felt like we could come back. But, I mean, you're out of that game.
Yeah, you really are
able to work your way back. That 2-run bomb, I guess it was the bottom of the 7th or maybe bottom of the 8th. Bottom of the 8th. Freaking huge.
Right. And you mentioned it, we're down 7-3. We get 2 guys on in the 7th and leave them.
Yep.
It just.
And that's when, I mean, me and you were talking about, that's when it felt like, all right, we're not going to do it tonight.
Yeah. Yeah. And you play all those scenarios out in your head. Oh, shit, we're going to get swept by LSU. We're going to get 2 out of 3, lose the barn. We're not even going to make the SEC tournament. I mean,
and I'll let the listeners know that sitting next to Paul Graham, he is 100% working through all these scenarios because I'm hearing every one of them the entire game. And he'll find a spot in a game. He'll be like, this right here is going to come back to bite us in the ass. And then he'll talk about it for the next 3 innings until the game is finally over and we win.
Roger, this is what you're missing 7 or 8 seats over. And Hunter's getting it because Token Barner Evelyn is not paying a bit of attention.
She's getting her son now.
She's getting son, yeah, not on Friday night. But we leave 2 guys on in that inning, and now then we make the comeback in the in the 8th. But even in the 8th, we leave a guy on that night. Interestingly enough, in the 8th, TJ McCants hits our only home run of the weekend. The only home runs hit this whole weekend.
Wouldn't have thought that.
Yep, 1 our day. I won by us that night. 3 by them that night. By I think Tommy Tanks hit 1, Jared Jones hit 1, and then Stephen Milam, their second baseman. Different feel for an LSU team. Not as explosive. I mean, you kind of breathe. Meghan, I think a little sigh of relief once you got past 1 and 2 in that order.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, no, 100% of just like, this wasn't an LSU team of years past where like you're hoping you get a win, and it kind of felt like all weekend it was kind of ours to lose.
Yeah.
I would say in that first game, they hit 3 bombs. They showed some explosivity in that game. And so at that point, I was thinking, oh man, maybe these guys are actually turning it around, and they do have that, explosiveness. I think we saw in the second 2 games that they're not the LSU of old.
The big thing about those home runs, they were all solo.
Right.
I mean,
a couple of them were absolutely tanked.
That's
Oh, yeah. I mean, no doubt.
There was one that almost went to the U Culverhouse Junior School of Law.
junior. Yeah, junior. So I want to make sure we,
I mean,
emphasize that.
between White and Jones at the top. I mean, it's
Uh-huh.
like,
Yeah.
but
Interesting batting order. I mean, again, Tommy White is not your prototypical leadoff guy, but it tells you what Jay feels about that lineup, that he's got Tommy White batting first just so he can grab another at bat, right? Drew, your thoughts on the way they're lining up this year?
I'm a little higher on it than I think you guys are. They seem to have like some tough at bats through the like Milan was really difficult to get out. Braswell,
Because he's 5'5".
Yeah, that's true.
Eddie
I don't have
Goodell.
stats from the weekend, but Braswell put together a lot of good at bats. I think a lot of what LSU struggles are because guys like Pearson and Kling, they thought they'd have a lot better years than they did. I mean, Travinsky he didn't play Sunday, but he's got 16 home runs. So, I think we still played a little bit like we might have been having some effects from the food poisoning. Not too many hard hit balls by us this weekend, but hey, we won the series, and so that's all that really matters. It really doesn't matter how it happens; it just matters that it does happen.
well,
Right.
yeah. Do we worry that how bad our offense really was against a pedestrian at
Very
best?
pedestrian.
I
The
mean,
bullpen.
2 good
Mhm.
starters and then not much else.
Mhm.
We hit 247 for the weekend.
For the weekend. Yeah.
And
Christian
they hit
Little.
260.
Christian Little, case in point, guy's got all kind of arm talent. When he's pumping it up there, that first couple innings, he of course he goes, what he go? He win an inning in the third, but when he got out there initially, you're like, man, this guy can really bring it up there. But
And then he was really good on Sunday too.
and then yeah. But then when he started losing a little control or getting a little flustered, he was like, it's like it's in the head a little bit. But that guy's got a lot of arm talent. Griffin Herring was just brutal on our lefties. We had that one streak. Didn't he strike out 3 guys in a row? Was there, or maybe it was 2 and a?
Let's see.
Was that the 7?
Yeah, he struck out Hamiter, Eblin, and Hamilton and Eblin, and then gave up single to Gage.
Yeah.
And a pop up, and then struck out Brian.
And then Brian, yeah.
Okay, we struck out 4 out of 7 guys before the walk came up.
Right.
So he's a weird guy. And Griffin Smith, you would have noticed this too. I'm not sure if you were back Friday night or not, but you would have noticed the guy was talking to him. Did you see this? The guy was talking to himself a lot, especially late in the game. He looked kind of like the Mark Fidrich type guy, just making all kinds of just gestures. You guys may not have seen it from behind the plate, but just a kind of a weird dude out there.
Yeah, it felt like he was trying to, I don't know what, talk himself up, keep himself focused. It was just all the motions and trying to almost be concealed, but also not being concealed because we could see it on TV. That he's just a funky dude. I mean, it worked for it until he didn't, and then he's got into serious trouble and blew it in the 9th. But yeah, he's a weird guy.
Right. Mm-hmm. Do you get a sense from that team and watching that team this weekend that kind of what you saw maybe with State and Ole Miss, the kind of hangover from winning a title? First of all, your roster gets wiped out. I mean, Paul Skeens is throwing a pro game Saturday already, and all these guys are all playing minor league ball. A little bit of hunger maybe gone away. I mean, they looked a little more relaxed. Thoughts on that? Is it's just kind of a hangover, and Jay knows it, and you just regroup and go get it next year?
They just don't have the talent they had last year. I mean, it is what it is. They're just not as good.
Right.
I feel like there's definitely I mean, I don't know all the champions dating back to like 2007, but I mean, it's really hard to repeat in baseball. I think out of all the basketball and football, I think it's the hardest probably to repeat in baseball because you'll have guys that are going to get drafted. Even players leaving before the portal. It's just really hard to keep that core group of guys. I mean, Tommy Tanks is still hitting bombs, great, but there's no second punch from Dylan Cruz, and you don't have a Saturday Sunday starter like Paul Skeens. But
sure,
yeah, I mean, they're not anywhere nearly as good as what they were last year, and I felt like we were at times over the course of the weekend kind of playing with our food, and I felt like we had instances to put it away, but we just couldn't. So
yeah, you mentioned Tommy Tanks. I mean, here's a kind of a polarizing guy, and he's got the pink sleeve on, but I mean, gets the like our guy Mac, and who I was going to mention later on is on the SEC community service team. Well thought of. Seemed pretty likable out there to me over the weekend. I mean, obviously he's not wearing crimson, so you know what that means. But good banner with our dugout. There was a moment where on one of the days, AD brought him a cup of water out.
That was on Sunday when he
Sunday.
he didn't have to go all the way back over to his dugout. So he asked AD if he'd get him some water, and you could tell him and AD were cutting up.
Yeah.
My opinion on him is definitely favorable. Seems like a likable guy. Again, he ain't wearing crimson, so but we'll be pulling for him as he plays professionally.
I noticed a lot of the games this year, or a lot of the post games of the third games of these series, we're not doing the traditional handshakes. Now Mississippi State probably didn't want to shake hands with us last week, where we get them all sick.
We probably had shit all over our hands.
But I did notice after this game on Sunday that they all paired up, and Tommy's the first one out there. Maybe that's just you're the captain or whatever. You go lead them out. I thought he made he was the first in that line after a tough loss, as a matter of fact. But did seem like a much more likable guy. I mean, I think people just see the the long hair and all, but seemed like a guy that you could really like. Our pitching. All right, we talked a lot about LSU there. Our night, of course, we mentioned TJ with a homer and 3 RBIs. Comeback player of the year in the SEC. Who you got? Is it TJ? If we're gumping?
From our point of view, yes. I'm not sure what some other guys did other places. Right.
But
Is it too early to say Bill Hammond?
There's another one.
Yeah. But, please. Henceforth and now forward, we're going to refer to Bill Hammond as Billy Bats. So Billy Bats. All right. So let's get that trending. Billy Bats. To me, the season he's had after how his last couple win, at least at the plate, and impact he's had on this team, I think has been immeasurable. I can't think of anybody maybe that tore UCL a year or so ago that's back. It's just he gets my vote. But a big night for him. 2-hit night for Hammeter. We pounded out 11 hits. I mean, Roger, you talked we were hitting real well on the weekend, but we got 11 that night. We only got 6 the next night and 7 the next.
Right.
But we hit them pretty good that day. Gage Jump, nice addition to their starting pitching rotation. Came over from UCLA, had a strong outing, struck out 7. Like I said, we after Herring pitched well enough to get the win or to get the hold, or whatever the save would have been, I guess, in that case. What I saw, Ferrone wasn't at his best. I mean, wasn't his best start. He's had a couple of little rocky starts. I mean, you got to discount the Mississippi State one. Are you worried about Greg going into this weekend and the tournament and the regionals?
I think he'll be fine. I think he'll bounce back.
Yep. So, like you said, some residual maybe from the weekend before. But
he's still throwing strikes. So
yeah.
That's
walked one batter. Hit a guy. Only 6 hits. They just a couple of them left the park. Austin Morris. All of a sudden, Austin Morris is a high leverage weekend guy. That's a good development for him, right, Hunter?
I was kind of surprised that we brought him in when we did. I thought he did a good job. But I feel like that was also kind of because we were down 5-1, or I guess 4-1 when you bring him in. So you're also thinking, all right, this might not be the game that we have the best chance to win. And so do we want to use the really high leverage guys at that point? I thought it was really big that Tyler Fay was able to come in and throw, and thought that helped him for Sunday.
Yeah, a lot better look from Fay. I said last week, and I don't know the hell I'm talking about, but I mean, it looked like something mechanical with him, or just about had to be. Maybe a case of tired arm, but man, he was a lot better this weekend. I thought, getting out there, he's throwing strikes and appearing in 2 games. And I mean, a series like this, when you're a little thin in that pen, you just got to chew up innings. And how about the inning from Colson Buchanan?
Huge, yeah.
Yeah, that was huge, because again, we're back in it. We're down 7-6. We got a little bit of a downer because of the 7th inning and leaving those guys on. but then we close it. I mean, you gotta, you can't have a guy go out there and give up 4 runs and all of a sudden you're out of it again. And he certainly did that.
It felt a lot like Aiden Mosa earlier in the year, where it's everyone's going to go through their highs and lows, and Mosa came in, he had us helped us in that game, basically win the Tennessee game, and then
Right.
I thought this was very similar for Buck, is that he was able to kind of just hold on, and then we were able to get into the ninth and get some work done. So
I mean, in the top of the ninth, Faye gets a guy on, and you're sitting here thinking, all right, here he goes again.
Lead off walk.
Yeah, we're screwed again. And then for Buck to come in, close the door was big. And then I do think we need to mention the at-bats that we had. The first 2 at-bats we had in the top of the ninth were just absolutely putrid. Just awful at-bats. I'm not going to name the names of who they were because they don't deserve it. Because we did end up winning the game. But just awful plate appearances. And you're thinking 2 outs, we got no chance of winning this baseball game. And then
Well, Brian did work it to a full count at least.
He struck out swinging. The next guy who we won't name struck out looking. Snell works a walk on 3-2 count. Max Grant comes in to run for him. McCants walks is a 4-pitch walk. So we're getting to him a little bit. And then they
don't make a pitching change at this point.
Oh, they don't. Yeah,
or even make a mound visit after he
didn't even go talk to him. And we know how much Jay Johnson loves to come out of the dugout. Didn't even go talk to him.
And we're going to talk about him. So Gassetti gets hit. The bases are loaded. Hammett on 2-2 pitch with just really not a great cut at this ball. He got he hit it 30 feet.
He got hold of one now though, didn't he?
And then I think I tweeted out the where legends are made and kind of had the mirror images of Tommy beating out that ball and him beating out that ball. So we win this one somehow. I mean 8-7 and you talk about deflating for LSU. They got to turn around the next day. But I mean, I think as deflating as it was for them, imagine if we'd have lost it and then we got to face their ace. And with everything we're still trying to play for. Won't spend too much time on Saturday, not because I don't want to throw bouquets at Luke Holman, but because we like Luke. But
we don't like his dad.
No, his dad. Yeah, that's right. We won't talk. But anyway,
I'll say the things that you want to say but aren't going to say. I'll say that. But I will say this about Luke.
Yeah.
I didn't give him as much crap as I said I was going to on the podcast. I booed him a little bit when he came out. I thought that he was a little bit too amped up in those first couple of innings. Right. And I think you saw that Jay Johnson, instead of their pitching coach, went out there and had a talk with him. I think it was in the first inning. But I thought he settled down and was really, really good. Didn't have his best stuff, but gave them a great chance to win the baseball game, and they did.
And when you say Luke being amped up, you don't see it on – that's why Luke is going to be a good professional, I think. Luke's pretty level. But
he wasn't showing it, but you could just tell in how he was pitching that he was a little bit amped up.
Yeah, yeah. You guys and anyone else thoughts on Luke's outing?
It looked like it from home. The same thing is that his delivery was a little, quicker than what I'd been used to seeing in the past. And while his stuff wasn't great, I mean, he didn't, blow the ball by anyone by any stretch. I mean, he only, I think, had 2-3 strikeouts of that.
Go ahead, Roger.
That was the point. I was like, Zane had 6 strikeouts before Luke ever got one, and he got he got 2 in the 6th before he came out.
Right, his only ones of the game,
which is unusual. I mean, he's a high strikeout pitcher in low walk, and he walked and hit a few 1, 2, 3
walk 4.
Yeah,
hit 3 guys.
And hit a couple. So
hit 3 guys. Yeah. So
we got 3 bases off of him. And we sure didn't hit. I mean, and the hits we got were dribblers and infield.
Yeah.
We didn't really hit a ball hard all week.
No. I tweeted after that game, and you heard me all game. It's kind of like you said, just how frustrating a night that was at the plate, just because the at-bats weren't good. There was no hard contact. There were a lot of lazy fly balls.
You had made some comment about how we had gone about, I think you said this early in the game on Sunday, was that we had gone 11 innings without making good contact.
Yeah.
Bronny's double that almost left in the 7th was really the hard hit ball of the game. I mean, for us.
Right. and bullpen wise for them after Luke is lifted, you know, and the way the scoring went, I mean, it was what we were 2-2. They inched ahead with 1 in the 6th. They got 3 in the 7th. That kind of put it away. We did get one back. Ackenhausen, decent outing. Gavin Guidry came in, had a great outing.
Yeah,
had to save, got two innings, and you know we didn't really touch him. You know, once he came in, it was pretty well locked down, which I didn't expect, honestly, because I thought he was somebody hittable. He didn't look, you know, again, wasn't overpowering. You don't, you know, you're not seeing guys coming out of their pen that you're used to seeing pumping up 96, 97, that type of ball. So on our side, you know, again, Zane Adams, I mean, again, it's hard to be
fine.
Yeah, he pitched fine. It's hard to be critical of Zane Adams. He's a true freshman pitching the SEC against the ace, one of the, you know, probably the top, what would you call it? Luke's top 5 starter in this league.
yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, he ate up innings. I mean, got us into the 6th inning.
And like you said, he was, you know, giving some guys some opportunities, but was able to get out of some jams,
right.
which I think excites me a lot moving forward with Zane being a true freshman.
Right. 3 earned runs in a game like that, you know, you feel like, hey, that's you tell me we're going to start the game in the 6th inning, we're going to lift our pitcher, and he's only going to give up 3 runs. We're playing LSU at home on a Saturday. I'm going to tell you, we got a pretty good chance of winning, right?
It gave me a lot of
Mosing going to come in and give up 3 more.
Right.
I was gonna say, it gave me a lot of Dylan Smith vibes. Like we're in this game.
Yes.
If you tell me that ahead of time, I like our chances.
Yeah. Tough outing for Moza right after that. But how about Zane Probst on the back end? I mean, that's, you know,
great outing.
We were kind of kidding, you know, I kind of look at Probst and Moza as a little bit interchangeable, or they're, you know, very similar in the way they throw, but it's like you never get them both on the same night right on, right?
If one doesn't work, maybe the other one will.
That's right. But a good outing for Zane to at least hold him there, you know, and keep it close. We just didn't have the bats. You know, we're just bad at the plate. A lot of bad at bats, a lot of soft fly balls, a lot of weak ground balls. You know, flush that game. Kudos to the team though for coming back on Sunday, and you know, jumping right on them, because I thought it was important Sunday to kind of assert ourselves offensively and play ahead in this one. Meghan.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was must win. We're trying to get as far as we can for postseason and high as we can for SEC. So I mean, this is huge for the weekend. I mean, kudos to Ben Hess. I think the Ben Hess we've been looking for all season, we finally have seen the last 2 weekends, and you know, the time we need him most, he finally seems to be showing up.
Yeah, Drew, Ben Hess's best outing since blank.
What was that Dallas game we played? The team in Frisco we played.
Indiana.
Yeah, that's. I guess that one. I was watching Coach Vaughn's comments after the game, and what he said was, I mean, Ben just keeps going out there, and he had a few, you know, several weeks in a row where he just a couple innings would just really get away from him. And what Rob said, Coach Vaughn said, was, you know, success is not going out there and just dominating every weekend. Success is overcoming a lot of failure, and then or adversity, and then doing what Ben's done the last 2 weekends. So I didn't really think of it in that respect. That's why he's the head coach, and none of us are, or especially me. But it makes a lot of sense. I think hopefully Ben is finding his stride at the right time. But he was really, really good on Saturday or Sunday. He was a lot of fun to watch.
Roger, I would throw out that might have been Ben Hess's best outing since the Georgia tournament.
Georgia
in 22
freshman year, yeah,
maybe the best in his career. I mean, one of the top 2 perhaps.
Well, he matched his strikeout total from that game. His 10 is his strikeout line. That's the 3rd time. The 3 games we just spoke of were the 3 times: Indiana, Georgia, and then LSU this past Sunday.
Yeah,
the scouts are still really high on him. I mean,
absolutely, yeah, and they should be.
I talked to a Yankee scout for a good long while before the game, and he only scouts pitchers. And he came, you know, obviously to see Ben, and was, you know, and I told him, you know, when we got done talking, I said, well, hopefully you're going to see the good Hess tonight. And then after the game, I called him. I said, like, you got the good Hess? He said, yeah, thank goodness. So he was very impressed with what he saw.
Yeah. Billy Bats again, 2 hits on the night. I mean, we scattered 7 hits up and down the lineup. Gage got hit. Not a big weekend by Gage, but he's getting on base. He's getting hits here and there. Played solid defense. I am sure he probably still doesn't feel that great. He didn't look, it looked like he thinned down a little bit, maybe.
He lost 9 pounds. Yeah, he does not.
I mean, you could see. I mean, you knowing what we know. But you could look at some of those guys and tell that there was still some residual effect of that. But again, let's talk about our pitching and what we did. I mean, obviously, their pitching situation was a mess, and they knew it. And anytime you throw out TBA on a Sunday, you're probably going to end up using 6 pitchers for no more than 2 innings each, and that's what they did. And they brought a guy back that had thrown on Friday. Weird decisions for us. So we get into the.
It made more sense when I heard Rob talk in the post game.
Okay, tell us what he said.
And he talked about how AD was not at 100%.
We could tell that by his velo.
Yeah, and so they were never planning on him coming in and getting a 6-out save. That was never. Okay. That was never going to. It would have had to have been a 7-out save. That was never going to be the plan.
Okay,
they were going to use him to try to get a stop right there. Mm-hmm. And so it made more sense, but in a vacuum, we're sitting behind home plate. I'm like, what in the hell are we doing? Why are we? Why would you not go Myers first and then get it to AD in the 9th, or Faye first, then get it to AD? But it made more sense after hearing Rob talk.
Yeah, if you're going to use Myers, Faye, and Davis, why not do it in that order? And we did it in the total reverse order, or Faye in the middle.
Y'all should have heard. Y'all should have heard Paul in the 8th and 9th talking about what are we doing? Like what?
I think the point. So here's the thing I said. I know because I think I even tweeted it because I was so frustrated about it. And just had to release some nervous energy. It was either the 6th or the 7th inning. I think it was maybe even it was the 5th or the 6th. And I tweeted at the time from the podcast account, at Weekly Joe Pod on Twitter. I think I said something to the effect of, I don't know if we can win this game with 4 runs, but I'm afraid we're going to have to find out because it felt like from about the 5th inning on, we ain't going to scratch a run across.
And you get up 4-0, and I'm thinking, all right, we're going to blow this game out. We're going to be able to throw some pitchers that we might not otherwise get to throw in close games. But no, we just couldn't get anything together offensively.
No. So for the last, 4, 5, 6, for the last 6 innings, I mean, we pieced together 2 hits, walked a couple of times, had a guy get hit. I mean, we just
left a couple of guys on in the 6th or 7th.
Well, we had the bases loaded in the 7th.
Out in the 7th.
Yeah. And again, you go to AD. He gets a little rocky in the 8th, but then Tyler Fay comes on, and it's like, wow, here he is. He's back, right?
He looked phenomenal.
Looked great. Yeah, Griff, what did you guys see from Faye?
Yeah, I thought Tyler settled in as kind of what I think the group had said. Like I said earlier, everyone's going to have their ups and downs, and he was going to figure it out, which I was of no doubt of that. And then for Braylon to come in the 9th, I feel like he's almost one of the most underrated players that's really made an impact this year. I mean, we knew he was good, but I mean, I feel like every time he's had a chance to get out there, he's taken a step forward. As with Austin Morris, they both look really well when they pitch so far.
Drew, your thoughts on the Braylon Myers legacy game?
Yeah, I think back to that game he had his freshman year against Georgia on Friday night. We lost the game, but we brought him in a tough situation to get a few guys out, and he did it. And he's just pumping 90 or 91, which was fast 20 years ago.
Right.
It's batting practice now if you're not locating it, and he's pretty fearless out there. That's the thing that he competes. He comes off with the energy. So I felt pretty much at ease when he came in there. I kind of thought, all right, he's going to get it done. And then basically he just hummed 91 by some guy. And it must have had some kind of – it fooled the guy. I mean, he just kind of hummed it in there in the strike zone. The guy swung and missed, and we hold on for the win. So, yeah, he's a guy that I never thought I'd be very comfortable with. He'll give up some solo home runs, but usually there's going to be solo home runs. So I think he's very much been a key guy this year.
Yeah. He doesn't walk. He throws strikes. He doesn't walk.
He throws strikes. Right. He throws strikes. Nobody walks. And he's, a little bit again, well, it's in reverse. He's going in the ninth in a 1-run game, and he's closer. It's like in the Tennessee game on Sunday when Aiden Moza had to morph into Mariano Rivera all of a sudden and did it. It's you just never know when you have to call on guys, and when piecing together an SEC pitching staff is kind of like that. Go ahead, Roger.
Yeah, he came in after Faye gave up a 10-pitch single to Braswell. Braswell just kept fouling.
Oh, hell of a bat.
And 10 pitches later, on the 10th pitch, he lines a single, and it's like, okay, Braylon gets 2 outs on 3 pitches, and then strikes out the guy to end it. So thankfully, it was still at 6, 7, 8, 9 there, not 8, 9, 1, 2.
Yeah, 5 foul balls on that at bat by Braswell. So you said just a hell of an at bat off of Faye. And that's a type of at bat we haven't been winning a lot of. And I think I mentioned last week we won some of those in the last game against Mississippi State. But again, it's usually advantage batter, right, when you get into that situation, because ultimately it's like, okay, they're going to guess right, and you're going to give up something. But anyway,
right.
Yeah, great.
When it's a 3-ball count, it's like, how many more strikes in a row can you throw?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
If they're on it enough to foul it off, or they're skilled enough to intentionally foul it off, that's great. Great video, I thought, of the ending of this game, Baby Drake and this guy. I mean, they did a fantastic job of video back of Hunter's head. I had a hat on, so you couldn't see my bald head. But really good video. Had a bunch of us on the front row. Our executive producer was pictured on the front row.
Was she Waller?
Yeah. she puts
I had
together.
to send Paul to go get me another beer right at the beginning of the 8th, because I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. I need one more.
But
So we were all getting us a swaller at that point because we needed it.
It was tough. And like I said, I mean, I had the feeling in about the 5th inning that that game could have ended 13-4 for all I knew. It just felt like we just weren't going to score, but the pitching held up, and so great outing. So big to get Hess back on track like we've had. Big to have Faye back. Big to have an inning like that from Myers. Again, AD. It's still hard to look past this the illness and the impact it's having on guys. Hopefully that's all cleared out by the time this week goes. So a big series, like Meghan mentioned, it doesn't happen very often. You beat LSU in the series. You beat LSU at home. Where is Thatcher Hurd? Help me out on that. Where was Thatcher Hurd?
He just really was awful this early in the season. They haven't used him. And I don't know if he's somewhere with Cade Woods or what.
Or just Drew.
We were talking earlier about how they don't have those guys coming and pumping 96 out of the pen. They have those guys on their roster, but they cannot throw strikes. And I think Thatcher Hurd's one. They've got a freshman lefty. I cannot think of his name. He came in and walked early in the year. He walked like 8 guys in a row, but he throws 99 or 100. So I think all their big, a lot of their big arms. I mean, heck, Cade Woods, if he's throwing mid-90s like he was, he can't get on the mound or whatever's going on. But so I think they have those guys. They just can't throw strikes and prove reliable.
Of course, their pitching coach is now the head coach of Georgia, has done a hell of a job. So maybe a rocky transition there. And what's a little compelling to me, like you say, you mentioned some of these young guys. It's not like they're developing guys for next year. It doesn't seem like. I mean, they're throwing these same old guys out there, and they're not getting results. I mean, at some point, maybe it just never got bad enough. You throw the towel in, and you just ride with them. So
looks almost like they're just going to go buy a team every year and throw them out there,
maybe so,
and develop just out the window.
Yeah. Anything from Rob? Bryce Evelyn didn't play Sunday. Injury wise, anything we hear there?
No.
Nothing. Okay.
I thought it was just because he wasn't hitting the ball.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah,
I thought it was too.
When he didn't go in for defense in the ninth,
that's what I wondered.
That made me wonder.
Yeah.
Because obviously he's one of our best defensive players, and
right.
So that seemed strange because Evan went in for Hammy out in right field. So I figured it would follow that Ebbs would go in.
Great.
I also felt like I was
go
gonna say,
ahead.
it also felt like I don't know his health. Those are HIPAA laws that I won't let Mark Jennings violate. But I thought Heiberger, if he was ready to go, I felt like this could have been a good weekend for him to get his feet wet. I mean, obviously LSU's not LSU of last year or the past, 5 years, but it still means something to these guys that are playing. But
Well, we played
hopefully he'll be back this weekend.
The second worst team in the league this weekend. Maybe we're waiting to throw Heiberger.
Right.
Yeah. Great crowds again. I mean, a great home field advantage. I mean, I think when the new rebuild of the Joe was visualized, what we saw at that regional last year, I think was just overwhelming. It just, that's what you pictured. And then I think you picture home crowds like we had, particularly the night games. I mean, Friday night was big.
Friday night was amazing.
It was great. Yeah, fantastic. And Saturday, a little bit different vibe, just because we weren't in it as well as we should be. Sunday always is a little dicey because the students don't turn out. And of course, they're going home anyway. But you don't have this bigger crowd in right.
And it was Mother's Day also. But I still thought that we would have had worse crowds than years prior on Sundays like that. I thought it was a good crowd, all things considered.
It filled in real nice.
Yeah, really. Yeah, really pleased with what we're seeing at home this year and the turnout we're having. If you're listening to this and you got tickets, call and you're not using them, get them to us. We'll get people in there. Trust me, we can get people in there. Get them to us next year. You know how to reach us. All right, last thing I'll talk about for the LSU series. Jay Johnson, just what the hell is up with this? Give me,
He's approaching Dave Van Horn levels with me in terms of how much I dislike this human being. Like, with Auburn, I'll give Butch Thompson crap. I like Butch. I think Butch
is a great coach. Love Butch.
Yeah, and a good coach despite how they are this year. Mm-hmm. With Jay, I don't like the fact that he poached. He took advantage of us in a situation where we were a little bit vulnerable. And I guess, that's business. But he also has a relationship with our athletic director. Our athletic director hired him at Arizona. Thought it was kind of a dick move for him to come after Luke Holman and Cade Woods. So I already didn't like him, period. And then he's just got kind of a Napoleon syndrome. He walks outside the dugout while they're at bat, like a basketball coach almost.
It's like coach pitch where the guy's got, out there put the ball for the kid or moving the guys around in the outfield. He
just seemed to very much want to make it about him.
Yeah.
Whether it was coming every time that there was, when I guess it was Ben had the shoelace issue. He's walking out to home plate. Why are you out there, dude? I
got theory on that.
It's an equipment issue.
Yeah, I got theory on that. All right, here we go. And again, Napoleonic complex. I mean, I left the weekend just hating that guy. All right, the gamesmanship on Saturday that they did with the mound repair.
Make us rebuild the mound.
Yeah, is it how you say his name? Ackenhausen. Ackenhausen's out there, and all of a sudden, after all, 200 pitches in the game, Ackenhausen doesn't like the kind of the hole where you land. Now again, some lefties are going to land different than righties, and you're going to have some issues.
But that's also bullcrap, man.
It's bullshit. Yeah.
I sprained an ankle one time at Holmes Community College because of a hole like that.
Yeah.
But you just deal with it.
So he had already pitched an inning too in this.
Yeah. You helped make that hole, bro.
Yeah. So the game gets delayed 5-10 minutes, whatever the hell it was. It seemed like an eternity.
We got to get the tamp out there.
Yeah, the clay. And then this jackass runs out of the dugout to make a pitching change. So, I mean, to me, it was just gamesmanship. There wasn't a damn thing wrong with that mound. You're setting up, he didn't even throw a pitch on the new and improved mound except for a warm-up. And it's all to get his bullpen ready. I thought it was bullshit. Bush League. All right. I really hope, and I got this little piece of my, maniacal mind. And Drew, you tell me what you think of this. Did we do the shoestring thing just to get back at them for that? Do you think we kind of pulled that on Sunday?
No.
We planted the shoestring?
No. I think we would have done something.
I wish we would have.
We would have checked their glove for pine tar or whatever.
Well, I mean, here's what I'm saying, because was it the sixth inning or it was I don't know if that was Hess's last inning. But again, it held up the game about 5 minutes. And, if we had guys in the pen getting ready, I certainly hope Rob did that. He probably wouldn't admit it, but maybe in private.
Also, shout out Sean Stryker for getting that shoe relace and right at a minute. I also thought that was
impressive.
a really good. I don't know who was videoing that with their iPhone or whatever, but like I thought that was really good content that our social team put out.
Yeah,
That's 2 weeks
Well,
in a row. He had to deal with the food poisoning, then he, relacing shoes. It just man that does it all.
Getting his money's worth.
yeah.
I
Go ahead,
think
Roger.
Money's worth.
Ben was rolling too good to self-stop himself.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see some of his outings in the past, like, oh, let's slow this thing down. But I mean, he was rolling. And I mean, he gets out of 7 if we make a play on a pop-up.
Yep.
Mhm.
I mean, he gets the full 7. And that was one of his 3 hits that he gave up too.
I mentioned this to Paul. I wish he would have gotten the full 7, but I also like that he was able to come out in the middle of an inning and was able to get the ovation
Big
he
ovation.
deserved from the crowd.
Big ovation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably as big an ovation as we had
I was thinking Goob last year in the NCAA.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think. Yeah.
Goob in that. Yeah, in the regional.
In the Boston College game, the clincher. On that Sunday night or Monday morning, I think it might have
been Monday morning by then.
All right. And one other LSU thing, and this was a listener question. This is R. Vaughn's Sharpie. Good name. He asked us, and I don't have the exact here. Asked us to show some love to Riley Quick for his dugout presence. And we did. I mean, I think I tweeted it out. I was like, Riley Quick saved us that run when Tommy Tanks missed third base.
Yep.
He was up out of the dugout and caught it.
And they never even challenged that play. Like they knew that he had missed third. Yeah. Like right. And Riley caught it.
Riley caught it from the, he kind of sits in the middle of the dugout. They're working on charting pitches. He's usually by Rob. Riley caught it, brings attention to it. We throw over on the appeal, and then it was an out instantly.
Big Ace drops the ball.
Real quick, that's what I was going to say. We got to at least practice the appeal process at some point. Like I remember in high school, we practiced the appeal, and like our guys it looked like they had no. This is not like a legitimate shot at Rob Vaughn. It's not. But it looked like our guys had no idea how to do an appeal. Like you have to get the ball back in play. You have to step off the rubber, throw the ball.
Go that way.
Like, I heard Rob. I believe it was Rob saying, "Get the ball, step off, throw over to the third," and then like Gabe fumbles it and picks it up.
These guys are pitchers only. They don't have that much to do. Like they can practice that.
Let me just say this: if we're wasting our time practicing shit like that, when we could be practicing not throwing pickoff throws in the right field, I'd rather be practicing.
That's also fair.
We do a lot of that. But then back to Tommy Tanks, though, when he emphatically stomped on third after his home run, that was really kind of good.
I didn't like it at the time, but I like the idea.
Right. I mean, I took it in good nature.
But I will say this about Riley. And again, the biggest disappointment of this season to me is Riley getting that scar in his third inning of pitching this year, because he would have been incredible for us this year. But he is fully engaged in that dugout. He leads the dugout. He leads he's the first guy out when a pitcher comes out. He damn near beat TJ home on the throwaway on the play on the winning run. He was damn near at the plate before TJ.
And he met Hess like across the third baseline when Hess was coming off the field.
So big shout out to him for staying engaged and appreciate our listener R. Vaughn's Sharpie for bringing that to our attention, but I didn't intend to do that. All right, so memorable week, a lot going on this weekend. I mean, it was great to get that win, and you can tell we're all very excited about that. All right, our barn preview. We go to the barn. We go Thursday, Friday, Saturday of this week. How did this team get to be 6-21? They started 8-1 out of conference. Since then, they got swept at Vandy. They got swept by A&M or at A&M. They got swept at home by Kentucky. Joined the crowd. Got swept at Mississippi State. I mean, they're the kind of the difference in 6-21 and 10-17 is you're not getting that Sunday win because you just don't have the arms, right? For this team, they've only won one series. That was last weekend at Missouri. Here's the thing that's getting them, and we remember this, and I don't remember was it 21 or 22, 8 one-run losses in SEC play. They are 1-8 in one-run games in SEC play. That's
truly hate to see it. Really hate to see it.
I just hate they've gotten up to 6 wins. I wanted them to be below the Greg Goff
the Greg Goff year.
on
So,
SEC.
I guess the point I'm going to make is, are they that bad? I don't think they're that bad, but here's why they're that bad. It's the one-run losses. They're hitting 256 in conference play. I tweeted some stuff out, I think, and maybe I sent it to the group. What do you think their opponents are hitting?
290, 295.
You got it right in front of you.
Well, I'm letting
324.
Hey, you're right on it.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Remember
So 3. Okay. So think about it. If you look at the teams in the conference and what they're pitching, what they're hitting, and what they're like us, for instance, we're hitting 287 in conference. Our pitchers are giving up 278. Give or take 10 points. Nobody has a .068 difference. Nobody else's pitching staff is giving up a 300 average. Georgia's is the next worst. They're at 289, but they're hitting. What are they hitting? Well, they're only hitting 284. They just hit a lot of bombs. They're getting by.
I don't know if it's a talent issue, but I mean, them losing their pit, they lost Darren Schoenrock. I don't know if he was fired or he stepped down on his own. Former head coach at Memphis, he steps down. They bring in a new pitching coach. I don't know if that's possible. That could possibly be something about it, but the pitching is ass. Yeah,
it's bad. And they're coming off, a couple of years. I mean, they hosted a regional last year. I think they went to the World Series the year before that. And they had another. Hadn't they been twice under Butch?
Years, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're due to cycle. You're just usually not.
Real quick, Paul, they could have gone a third time had they not allowed a fly ball to go off of their head and for a home run against Florida.
Right. You think about cycling and having a rough year. You just don't think about going 6-21 if you're Auburn and under Butch Thompson. It just hadn't happened. With their 5th in fielding, we're 6th. 105 walks, 248 strikeouts. So again, maybe not a real patient team. 30 home runs in conference play, which is not a whole lot. If you look up and down the conference, I mean, there are teams that hit 60 something. We've hit 37. So I mean, it's a good hitting team. I mean, Ike Irish is extremely dangerous. All right. Hopefully we pitch around that guy this weekend. Cooper McMurray, good hitter. Chris Stanfield, great player. Caden Green. These are all good hitters. I mean, there's some hitting there.
But they have to be coached by Gabe Groves, so it's kind of
true. Yeah. I mean, they scored 32 runs at Missouri, which I mean that's a small sample and not the best comp. They also had 24 in a series against A&M early in the year, but they're not going to scare you, but they do tend to it looks like a team that shouldn't be 6-21. No one should be 6-21. Right? Drew,
unless you're coached by Greg Goff.
Right. Go ahead, Drew.
They remind me a little bit of a great value version of Ole Miss. And so Ole Miss was kind of the same way, can't pitch. And I was just kind of looking at stats. They had about 3 or 4 guys who can leave the yard. So, that's just basically what I think. And Ole Miss went in there and I think won 2 out of 3 over them just because Auburn really couldn't hold leads late. So I think we should be able to hit the ball pretty well this weekend. Hopefully we're back fully recovered 2 weeks from the food poisoning. So that's kind of what I'm looking at when we're going into this series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're starters. They'll typically go Tanner Bauman on Friday, Chase Alsop on Saturday, and then Christian Heberholz. I don't know if the H might be
Heberholz.
Heberholz, okay. On Sunday. And of course we're Thursday, Friday, Saturday this weekend. I mean, so pitching wise, I feel good about the matchups. I mean, I think we match up really, really well with them. All right, let's go recent history against the Barn. I'm gonna go the last 10 series. So 2023, last year we won 2 out of 3 at home. 2022 we lost both games. The third game got like rained
thankfully out. We did not play that third game.
Finish it.
Yeah.
We won 2 out of 3 at the Joe in 21. 2020, the COVID year wiped it out. 2019, we lost 2-1. 2018 was the "You Still Suck, Tony."
Golly,
which I really wish we could find. But we lost all 3 of those and got outscored 44-10.
That was one of the lower moments. I mean, and obviously it was Bohannon's first year, so like you're not going to hold it against him.
Yeah,
Damn, that was a rough
man.
year.
They were really good. Was that one of their World Series teams? Or I think it might have been.
No, I think that was the year that they lost to Florida in the Supers.
Okay, all right. 2017, the Greg Goff series. Greg Goff, the all-time winning percentage leader against Auburn.
That was the Greg Goff legacy game. And his legacy should not be based on that. But damn, that was the one. If that man accomplished one thing, it was that series. I was texting earlier with our marketing guy who was at Auburn at the time. He worked, Dan Heck, he worked at Auburn then. He was talking about how he was in the box for that 14-inning game. Just, Roger, were you there for those?
No, I was not.
Just wild, wild baseball games. You had pitchers hitting. It was, we killed the DH in like in the 8th inning. It was wild.
Yeah, that was when Zach Rogers had a bomb and he had a bat flip that that was a crazy weekend. But we
had a pitcher who bat flipped a walk.
Yeah,
that was Zach Rogers.
Yeah,
that was Zach Rogers.
It was Rogers.
Sonny Potter going up to bat and like just trying to drop a bomb. That's all he was doing. He was trying to hit a bomb. That was it.
Chandler Taylor had a great bat flip, or at least.
He dropped bombs in that series. He had. And there's a GIF. Griffin might have it. There was a great.
I wish we had that. I wish we had the "You Still Suck, Tony," from the year before that.
No.
Greg Goff.
Well, it was Gabe, wasn't it?
No, I was yelling at Tony, the umpire, but I don't think that was actually the umpire's name.
Okay.
I was more messed up than a football bat that night, Roger. It was a doubleheader. A-Day had been that day. It was a long day.
That's when you and Gabe got it.
That was when I yelled at Gabe about him being a terrible quarterback, and he made some comment.
Iron ball or something.
Yeah, and then he pointed
said,
up
"You
to
still suck."
Yeah, and he pointed up to the scoreboard, and then Bohannon threatened to beat his ass.
Oh, yeah.
I think that series with Goff, that may have been one of the most, if not the most, surprising result of a sports series that I was halfway invested in. Can't remember if this was 18 or 17?
It was 17.
All right, so I was still working at
games, 3 up for that weekend.
Well, I was watching it, and the big conundrum was we put in Garrett Suchy. Was that who our pitcher was?
Yeah.
He had thrown like 70 pitches the day before, and Goff just said, "Screw it," put him in there for an inning. I was all for it. A lot of people just like, "Oh, you're going to kill his arm," and I was like, it's just that's not going to
transfer somewhere in Florida later anyway.
He got drafted, anyway. I think. So he probably told him he was fine, but that's why we won that game. They were not going to do that. We did that.
No.
So
and it was also like I was already well on board with getting rid of him. I wanted Goff gone. I had already been public about it. He's not the guy. We got to get rid of him. But I wasn't at the point that I wanted us to lose to Auburn. Like I still wanted to beat Auburn. And for us to do it in that situation, it was just wild, man. Yeah. And that game, I don't know if y'all remember, that game was that Sunday game. I mean, it lasted until like 11 o'clock at night.
Way late. Yeah.
It was an elite night for Twitter, Alabama baseball, like discussion.
And that was graduation weekend for me. So, because I worked with athletic marketing that whole year, and I was so excited of every sport I got to work with, football and basketball. Right. I was thrilled to have baseball, and it was abysmal. I had not a lot of fun because the team was just not great.
Well, our players didn't have very much fun either.
No, they didn't. And they told me they told me on more than one occasion that they were not having a great time.
If we do another misery space, we could just do that baseball season.
The Greg Goff year. We just do it. We can get them all in there and let them like a tell-all book.
Deacon Matters just tweeted that it's Greg Goff Field at Plainsman Park.
Oh, yeah. I've used that multiple times. Absolutely, yeah.
So Greg Goff gets 60% of his all-time SEC wins in 2017. 2016 to 2013. So those 4 seasons under Gaspard, we win 4 straight series from Auburn. In fact, we swept them in 2015.
We were really good against Auburn other than the Capital City Classic.
That's right. Yeah. Which was only played one time in 2019. So we're 7-3 in the last 10 series against Auburn. Doesn't seem like that, but we are. We're 1-0 in SEC tournament play. Of course, last year we used to end up kind of getting paired up with Auburn a lot in the SEC tournament. It's been a while until last year. We're 3-4 in the Max Capital City Classic. Of course, only one of those counted. And so in the last 37 games, we're 21-16. We're actually, I guess, if you kicked out the max games, we're 18-12 in the last 30 against them. So I was going to say your favorite Barn series or moment. Maybe we covered it. It's 2017. Or
I think it's 2017, man. Like,
As bad as awful as that year was, as much as I hated it.
There's
not
been individual moments.
all the games. It was just miserable. Everybody was miserable. The players were miserable. The fans were miserable. The parents were miserable.
hell, Greg Goff was probably miserable too because he knew everybody was miserable with him.
Well, I don't know. He
I
might
will say this:
maybe
the 2021 series.
Yeah.
I think it was a Thursday, Friday, Saturday series. That
Lost
Saturday
39.
game when Prater hit that bomb.
Yeah.
It was electric.
That was something.
That was a really, really fun game to be at.
And that was the year with the reduced attendance, and you kind of had to. But
I think Jarvis had the double late in that game, like maybe bottom of the 8th.
Yeah. So again, a series we've when you look back on it, I mean, especially you go a little bit further back, we kind of had our way with it. But again, it's tough to play down there. We lost the last series down there, like you mentioned. We probably were on our way to getting swept that weekend. I mentioned pitching matchups. The games this weekend are at 6 on Thursday on ESPN Plus or on SEC Plus, 6 on Friday on SEC Plus, and then the SEC Network's picking it up at 5 on Saturday. Weather is going to be a factor. We'll talk about that in a minute. But so who knows how it changes. All right, prediction times. Let's go with Meghan. Who you got?
She's gonna pick us to sweep.
I'm taking it.
You're taking it. All right, we're sweeping. We're going 15-15.
Are you going down there, Meghan?
Yeah, I'm leaving them out.
Then if you really believe it, take a broom. Also, did y'all see? I had somebody tweet this out this week. It was for Ole Miss baseball. They have like a list of prohibited items, and one of the things was brooms, unless it's the third game of a series Ole Miss had won the previous 2 games. I thought that was incredible. Like, all right, we're gonna let people bring
the rules. Yep, we're just following our rules, right? Drew, who you got?
I've been correct on all of these so far. Like
as have I.
So as
Hunter,
Hunter,
well, Drew.
I think we're gonna go down there and sweep them. I really do.
Okay, all right. That's big for him. All right, a lot to play for this weekend. I mean, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Griff.
I'm sitting here thinking, well, we're in Hoover, unlike Auburn. They can't say they're going to make it. I'm pretty positive we're going to take 2 or 3, but I think the Gumps in here have turned the tide, and I say we're going to sweep.
All right, 3-3. Roger.
Yep.
Sweep. All right, another sweep. Hunter.
You know me, I'm the curmudgeon of the group. From it being whether it's Will Hodo's defense, which he's been flashing a lot of leather lately, and Stephanie Hodo shout out. I'm gonna go that we win 2 out of 3.
2 or 3. All right.
Y'all are talking like this. He just talked about all these 1-run games they've been in and how they've been really unlucky this year. Like, chill.
I mean, that's kind of that was my thought is when I looked at this, I was like, man, they aren't that bad. They've been close a lot of times. I think we win the series. I'm going to go 2 out of 3 as well. As much as I'd like to gump and say we're going to sweep and win our first 2 in Hoover, and a bunch of chaos is going to happen. We're going to get a host site because we're going to be the 9 or 10 in the RPI. I think I'm going to go 2 or 3 just because I don't know, man. It's the road, and I feel like if we just swept Ole Miss, I'd have been gumping a little bit harder, but we managed to drop one of those. All right, SEC tournament coming up. All right, so whether we win this or not, all right, we're current seedings. A great article that Matt Jones, the Arkansas guy, did that kind of laid out where everybody is. Well, first of all, this weekend, Arkansas's at A&M. Again, Arkansas is in a position they can still win the league. Vandy's at Kentucky. Kentucky wins 2 or 3, they probably win the league. South Carolina's at Tennessee. Florida's at Georgia. Ole Miss at LSU. Missouri and Mississippi State. Of course, we're at Auburn. Most of the regional projections are showing Arkansas, A&M, Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia, and I'm starting to see Mississippi State a lot on there. So 6 SEC teams projected as hosts. Now, Mississippi State, God forbid, drops 2 out of 3 with Missouri at home. I don't see that happening. Arkansas at A&M, you got a preference either way. That one doesn't really matter to us that much, does it? For standing purpose, no, it really doesn't matter. They're way up above. It's not going to affect us. Vandy and Kentucky.
We need Kentucky to sweep.
That's
yeah. I'd
Drew.
like to see Kentucky again in the SEC tournament, but if we sweep or even win the series, we're probably going to be matched up in the 7-10 if we win that against Tennessee. The series I want to see I want to see Florida get swept, and I want to see LSU lose at least 2 out of 3.
Yeah. All right. And I thought about that because kind of where we are, if we win 2 out of 3, we might jump South Carolina. South Carolina's got to go to Tennessee, might fall back behind us. If LSU takes 2 or 3 with Ole Miss or sweeps them, and they kind of claim it, do you feel better about a matchup with? Here's the teams we're likely to play: LSU, Ole Miss, Florida, or Vandy. Who's your preferred? One of our 250 loyal listeners, Scott Pomeroy, asked, "Who is our ideal first round matchup in Hoover?" Probably those 4. That's probably who you're going to get. One of those 4. Who do you prefer? Meghan, you got one?
I would lean Florida or Vandy just because we haven't seen them, and it's hard to beat teams that you've played more than once.
Okay. Yep.
Out of that, I'd probably go Florida.
Okay, Griff, you got somebody it looked like you're about to jump in.
Yeah, I almost want to go the other way. I almost want to say Vanderbilt because it's a lot like LSU. They've had such a step back from what I think we are, the experts they have expected this year. So I almost like Vandy because they just seem to be out of sorts in general.
Okay, Roger, you got a preference?
Was Ole Miss one of the choices?
Yeah, one of the choices. Yeah.
Yeah, Ole Miss.
Okay, Hunter.
Ole Miss.
Drew.
Ole Miss.
That's something I looked at that and I'm like, okay, now LSU could get in a position if they go sweep Ole Miss or something. But I don't feel great about playing LSU again. But mind you, if you're playing the Tuesday game in Hoover, you're probably facing a pitching staff like LSU's on Sunday, right? I feel pretty good about that. I feel pretty good about facing Ole Miss in that situation. I'm a little worried about ours, but we can, I feel like we can cobble guys together that you seem to have a little better. And I just don't, I hadn't seen Vandy enough or Florida enough. And
I haven't seen Vandy, haven't seen Florida. In person and against us. I've seen us against Ole Miss.
Right.
I know we can beat them.
We beat Arkansas 3 out of 4 last year.
That's right.
Twice,
that's right.
In the series, whenever that was it Arkansas? Somebody we beat 3 out of 4.
It was Arkansas because Dave Van Horn got sick and didn't show up.
Yeah. Very loyal podcast listener, Mark Mizell, father of Coleman Mizell, who I can't wait to see next year hitting in the 3-hole and blasting balls to the Coliseum. Ask this, and Meghan, I think you're probably prepped for this. Talk a little bit about the tiebreaker process for teams not playing. You got teams that didn't play head to head, and so you can't decide a tiebreaker. Talk a little bit about how that kind of works.
Yeah, so for divisional opponents, and I broke it down for Vandy and Florida because Mizzou's really not going to matter too much. No matter what they do, they'll be lower than us. If we were to end up tied with Vandy and Florida because we didn't play them, it will go to win-loss versus rankings 1 through 12. So
top seeds.
Top seeds, yes. That would mean Florida would get the draw ahead of us because they have a win over Kentucky that we don't.
Right.
Vandy plays this weekend. We don't know. After that point, though, we have the head-to-head advantage against every seed.
Right.
So we would end up, no matter what, we should end up ahead of Vandy if we were to end up tied, unless Vandy beats this weekend.
By virtue of our beating Tennessee, South Carolina, Arkansas 2 out of 3 in those series. So, so there's a scenario here where you might prefer one of, Kentucky to lay an egg this weekend, and then you potentially get a little better in the head to head. But I don't know. I'm looking at the standings. So Kentucky's 20-7, Tennessee's 19-8. So there's a game apart. And then you go over to the West and where's Arkansas on this thing?
Arkansas is 19-8, but Arkansas
19.
has the head-to-head over Tennessee.
Over Tennessee. Okay. All right. So it's really, it's really a matter now of, what does Arkansas do with A&M at A&M? It's going to be tough. If they drop 2 out of 3, Kentucky probably wins this thing because they'll win 1 of 3 or 2 out of 3 with Vandy at home. I feel like, after the weekend, I think it shakes out. I think Kentucky wins the SEC, which who had that at the beginning of the year? Raise your hand.
As long as it's not Tennessee, I don't really care about who wins it up out of the rest of them. But
Right.
Kentucky would be great. It'd be great for Kentucky to win.
Right. So again, Mark, for the your question, and she kind of laid it out. It really depends on if you're tied with somebody outside of your division. You kind of start with the pecking order of the top teams in the league. If you're playing teams within your division, it's a little bit different. But I think we're not really facing that in ours here. All right. So here's a scenario. Say we sweep Auburn. We go 15-15 in the conference. What do we need to do in the SEC tournament? Win it, of course, but realistically, 15-15, and you get 2 wins in the SEC tournament. Does that?
I think 3.
I think 3.
Okay, because
then you're 3-2.
Right.
You have a winning record against SEC opponents.
Right. So 3 means
500.
3 means you've probably beaten somebody like right now. We would be paired with who? Where we are?
Vandy. We play Vandy day 1.
Okay, so if everything kind of stays the same, and we're paired with Vandy, we're sitting 8, Vandy's sitting 9,
and then you beat Kentucky.
Right, and so eventually you beat Kentucky because you've got to go head to head with them. So maybe you do jump. Our RPIs, what I said was 11 in that tweet today, and you look at like that. I didn't look at the Baseball America one, but the one that D1 and Kendall and them did. The 16 teams they have as hosts are basically the top 18 in the RPI, with the exception of us at 11, and with the exception of UC Santa Barbara at 15. So it's like, it's basically kind of tells you how much the RPI is given weight, but it also maybe tells you how much kind of love we're getting based on our, the way our season is shaking out, even though we're 12-15 in the conference. Go ahead, Hunter.
I've got a question, and that's if, let's say we go 2 out of 3 this weekend, but are in that same situation where we play Vandy and then beat Kentucky. Let's say you win 3 games in that scenario. I think that probably could get us there.
Maybe so. Yeah. All right. Who do you see?
Just because I think that beating a Kentucky is going to make you jump so much, and I don't think losing a road game at Auburn is going to hurt you that much.
Right. I think the thing I see in the it's pretty well locked in. There's 6 SEC teams that probably host. The last one of those is Mississippi State, and they're not gonna lay an egg against Missouri at home this weekend, right? So they're clear. Everybody else is kind of head to head with each other, and they can win 2 out of 3 this weekend, 1 out of 3. They're all going to host. So you got 6. You got 5 in the ACC. So unless there's something in the ACC where these 2 of those 5 are head to head, there's a sweep one way or the other, and it just plummets somebody down, kind of like we've seen with South Carolina the last 2 weekends that nobody's talking about South Carolina anymore. And then the others, you got OU and OSU, so they're pulling 2 in from the Big 12, which a week or 2 ago you're really only seeing one of those probably being a lock to get in. And the committee, I think, loves East Carolina. I think the committee loves Indiana State. Although if Indiana State had our schedule, they'd be in hell. And then, of course, you got Oregon State out west. So I think the challenge is somebody's got to slip. Right, Drew?
Yeah, I think after we finish 15-15, if we went Mark Etheridge said Florida did this a few years back. I don't know what year it was. They went 15-15 and then won. They may have made a run to the semifinals. So they might have won 3 games. So if you win 2 games there and they're the right 2 win, if one of those is over Tennessee, then heck, I mean, your RPI is going to be really high
Yeah.
to get that host seed, obviously, which is what we're talking about. So I kind of feel like we'll probably end up as a 2 seed in a regional, but I mean, I don't think it's as far fetched as we think. I just think we have to.
Yeah.
We probably have to get to 15 this weekend.
Yeah. Griff probably got to rely on somebody else to have a slip.
Yeah, I feel like we're going to have to do a little bit of scoreboard watching in addition to kind of having our own. Looking at Oklahoma and Oklahoma State's schedule, they're playing Cincinnati is probably they could be a bid stealer for a mid-major,
yeah.
so not concerned about that. And then our guy Antoine John is pitching against Oklahoma State or Oklahoma this weekend. They've got for them as their final series.
Good.
But yeah, I agree. I mean, I feel like we're going to have some work to be done. State feels they've won and they've earned their spot.
Yeah.
I'm not going to argue that, but it feels like
they're going to have 18 conference wins, right? Yeah,
so they will, and it definitely feels like the NCAA won't, take that away from them. And also, like, by the way, the dude is an amazing complex. They're not going to
like
say
Alabama
no to that.
softball.
Yeah, right, exactly.
That's right.
It's like if they're in the conversation, they're going to get it. So,
right.
But I think you may have texted in the group chat that if there is a West Coast team, they may get in. They may host because they got to spread the love. I mean, they can't have it all be ACC and SEC. So,
right. Meghan, who of these? Again, you got 6 SEC, 5 ACC. You got the 2 Big 12. You got Oregon State, Indiana State, ECU. Who would you just feel like, if this scenario plays out, we get 3 wins this weekend. You get 2 or you get 3 in Hoover. You feel like you've done enough to get a host. I mean, who of these teams are you then pointing at that you don't belong? Because we do.
I haven't watched enough ACC to have a real idea of who, but I feel like it would probably have to be someone from that side. I don't think they're going to take it away from that. I don't think we're going to get 7 this year, though.
No,
I don't think the SEC gets 7 hosts.
You don't think? Okay, so one way or the other, it's probably remote that we get 7. Yeah. For the record, the lowest again. I mentioned these, and I'm going by the D1 right. I mean, I think they did a pretty methodical job of projecting theirs. We're a 2 seed in Chapel Hill in theirs, by the way, and I think Carolina was. I don't remember if they were the 9 or the 13 in there. Like I've read so many of these things. Were they the?
They were the 5th seed.
They were the 5th. Okay, I'm sorry.
Which
yes,
is BS. Like, if we're one of the best 2 seeds, like, why are we getting sent to a national seed?
The 5 seed, yeah. They're 5 in the RPI, by the way, and I think that's kind of what they're basing that on. So the ACC teams are Carolina 5, Clemson 7, Wake 8, who just like cleaned Clemson's clock last weekend. Virginia, that's the one to me. Virginia's 15-12 in the ACC. I don't think Virginia's as good as they've been. I think that's the one I would probably, storm the Capitol over. And then who did I miss? I missed one of them.
I felt a lot like Florida State. I mean, they're up there, and I've heard Tallahassee.
Yeah, they're there. Yeah.
Potentially being a host, and I'm thinking about them, but like, didn't their stadium just get obliterated by a tornado?
I think
3 weeks ago.
It was a lot of fencing, though, so I think instead they could get fixed pretty easily.
They probably should do the right thing and move it to Tuscaloosa. But
considering how many times we've had to go down there, they ought to. They ought to have to come up here.
Yeah. Virginia is the one that stands out a little bit to me on that. I think the 2 Big 12 teams at 16 and 17 in the RPI, it's like take a stand, make a pick. I mean, they don't deserve to host, honestly. Indiana State at 10. Yeah, they're a good team. I just, again, strength of schedule is 54. We're third. 54th strength. I mean, but play them at. Give them our schedule. Give them Auburn's schedule for that matter. I mean, I just think there's some things that anyway. Good topic here for us. It may or may not shake out that way. Thanks to Michael Southern, by the way, basketball guy, for a question about that possibility of being a regional host. All right, a few other questions from listeners. Jordan Coleman, avid fan of the podcast. Who do you expect to start our first game in Hoover, which would be Tuesday?
Cade
Snell. All right.
Yep.
You think you get a Cade? Yeah, go ahead.
A Cade, but a quick leash and then a
kind
Johnny Holstaff.
Kind of opener type thing. Whole staff game. All right. So if you get beyond Tuesday, you get to Wednesday. Ferrone will have gone Thursday. Do you just go straight to your rotation?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So pretty good setup for us then going into that because we're one of the few teams. I mean, you see it on Sundays, and I kid about it a lot. And I tweeted from the account at Weekly Joe Pod on Twitter, by the way. I tweeted from there a lot. You know, TBA getting that Sunday start on a lot of teams. We don't TBA. We TBA'd Zane a few weeks ago, and then we've called bullshit on that ever since. But I think that's one thing that kind of helps me gump through the next week is get through that first game, our Johnny Holstaff against somebody else's Johnny Holstaff, and we got our rotation. We got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, down, and a lot of teams are going to be throwing, whoever the hell they can get their hands on, and they probably are setting up for the next weekend, and they don't, they're already hosts. They don't care, right?
Well, that's part of why I would want to see Florida on that first day, because I've seen them in their midweek games and they're
that's
atrocious.
Right. Great point. Great point. You only get that kind of point on this podcast.
Yeah.
The greatest weekly Alabama baseball podcast on the whole internet. All right, here's a good one. I hope y'all thought about this one because I gave it to you earlier. From Bama Pro Updates, who I met last weekend. That was great. It was
I noticed y'all met.
Yeah. Since we are playing the Barn this weekend, who is our equivalent of Philip Marshall?
I thought about this a lot, and I don't know of a comp. I don't think there's a comp on this.
There's not.
There's not anybody on the Alabama beat who.
There's a comp.
All right, here we go. Here, the man with the comps is in the middle there.
Our former Liv Journo.
Paul in the center square.
I mean, I haven't read his stuff in a while. He helped put me through college. Kirk McNair is a perfect comp to.
I don't think that's bad on Kurt, man.
Like, but Kirk hates the Barn just like Philip hates Alabama. They're both been around forever and ever. And I haven't read. I don't have access to 24/7 unless it's not free. But that's kind of as far as like a homer type. I mean, I don't really see one of those on our side.
No, never.
There's like half of the Auburn beat is guys who have been covering that team for 20 years and they just love Auburn. If Brandon Miller had gone to Auburn and that whole deal had happened with, I mean, they would have all been championing. Yeah, they would have been all behind him. Like our guys are just kind of covering it. Most of our good guys are covering it down the middle, and then some guys are trying to get them banned, from playing basketball forever. Right. But schools like Auburn and Tennessee just have, beats that would be like, oh, he did nothing wrong. Yeah, which we agree with.
Wes Rucker types.
That was the first guy that came to my mind, Roger.
Wes Rucker.
Wes Rucker is the Philip Marshall of Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Since we don't really have a Philip Marshall aside from what you said, I mean, tell me another team that's got a Philip Marshall.
Arkansas has one.
Most of the people at LSU.
If you're thinking about homers, but if you're thinking about I kind of think about the longevity as well. Bob Holt is a guy who's covered Arkansas for many years, so he's one of those.
And in terms of just longevity, it would have been Cecil for us.
Yeah.
But Cecil, he was a straight shooter thow. He would tell you.
Cecil runs circles.
I can say this because he's not here to like say anything, but like he hated Auburn too. So
yeah.
But all of his columns didn't talk about Auburn, even when they were supposed to be about Alabama.
Right. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I don't know about some of the you got incoming in the conference. How about Chip Brown at Texas?
Yeah.
Maybe one.
But I don't think Philip Marshall has as good a sources as Chip Brown does.
No.
I don't think anybody at Auburn takes Philip Marshall seriously.
I was going to say
the guy in Florida that Feinbaum used to have on all the time during the
Pat Dooley.
Pat Dooley, maybe during the Spurrier era, maybe.
Yeah, it was Pat Dooley.
Was Pat Dooley?
They got a few guys who've been around a while. Kevin Brockway, I think, is one. There's a good chunk of them.
Yeah. All right.
Well, if anything, the Alabama guys go out of their way to go the other way to not.
Right.
I realize he doesn't cover baseball, but Nick Kelly is doing the best job of any writer in the Alabama.
He really is fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah, he's doing a really good job. Yeah, and the week he was gone, they really dropped the ball. Like last weekend on that article was just garbage about the weekend at Mississippi State. But I mean, they might as well just not even tried. But
speaking of articles, I know Hunter, you tweeted about it earlier, and we can all repost it about there was a good deep dive on Dave Magadan's 83 season, which was
and it shows up as athletic link, but it's not. It's a New York Times link. It's free to read.
So
Even
it's free.
if you're not an athletic member.
Yeah.
Really, really good profile on Dave Magadan's 1983 season in which he hit 525. Really, really good read.
Yeah. Well, I'll go from the at Weekly Joe. By the way, follow us at Weekly Joe Pod on Twitter. I'll go out and tweet it out, or one of y'all tweet and I'll retweet it. All right, great question by Bama Pro Updates. I hope he it was good to meet him, and I hope he does come again. I had a question from somebody. How's recruiting going, Roger? Give me a rundown. What do you got on recruitment lately?
We are tearing New Jersey up.
Hey, we're just like the university. The baseball team is trying to mirror the enrollment process for the university. Everybody's either from Chicago or New Jersey. The baseball is all coming from New Jersey.
We've got a couple of nice commits from the last few days, both from up that way. The big kid Andre that committed, that was here this weekend visiting.
Yeah,
this weekend I actually met he and his dad, and he committed on Monday, I guess. 6'5", 210.
A tank. Dude's a tank.
I think he's ranked the 20th ranked player in the country by perfect game. So he might, like we said, join Bryce Eldridge in the vanilla missile in pro ranks. But it'd be nice to have him. And then the other kid that committed a couple weeks ago,
Kroberger's how you say it?
Yeah, he looked like good numbers, and be nice additions to the class that we signed back in the fall, which has some studs in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Carter Johnson and Jackson Hunter in particular, and then JoJo from Hartselle, who, bless their heart, their coach died today. Tomorrow. 2 kids from New Jersey, 2 other kids, John Young Jr., dad, friend of the podcast, and Sean Griggs, and both infielders, both really, really highly thought of. Let's see. And Richard Bonamamolo.
Our favorite player just because of his name. Yeah.
Right. He had like 20 home runs with 50 stolen bases or something stupid last year, his freshman year in junior college. So he's supposed to be able to cover center field like center fielder. I mean, like really, really good.
Would there be a language barrier with him?
He's from the Bronx, I believe. So,
okay, all right, that's good.
Yeah, probably so then. Yeah, because I don't know what they speak. All that to say, I think whoever had asked that, I can't remember. Recruitment is going really well. I also think you're going to see us hustle, and then when the transfers all when the portal populates, and we got to go find our needs. I think you're going to find this staff is really. I mean, look at what we brought in this year. I think they're going to be good at isolating what those needs are very specifically, getting them in. And, it looks like a great developmental staff. We got some young guys that aren't really getting a lot of playing time right now because they're sitting behind 22, 23-year-old guys. So I think the future looks really good. I mean, and again, look at what we saw with LSU this weekend, right? That's a program with a lot of developmental guys in it that just aren't getting a lot of playing time. And I mean, a lot of those guys are going to move to the next step somewhere. I mean, it's hard to project it just based on what you're bringing in because you don't know what you're going to bring in the summer when the season's over. It's just going to be so much movement in college baseball. But I think all that to say it's going very well. Sean, one of our listeners, weather impact this weekend. You think we might have a doubleheader? Drew, I'll give this to you because you're in tune with Mark Jennings. What are his weather models forecasting or saying?
Yeah, I think he said his models say that Friday there's a chance for some rain. So I would imagine, I feel like if we were playing a doubleheader tomorrow, we would know about it by now. So if we're going to play 2, it looks like it's going to be 2 7s on Saturday. Hopefully we'll be able to get the Friday one in at some point, even if it's earlier in the day. I want to say,
just like we had no interest really in playing that last game down there a couple of years ago. I don't think they have any. They're fine with only playing 2 baseball games.
Yeah, I was going to say that was 2017 against Vanderbilt. We had no interest in playing last game in Miami, and that was a rain monsoon.
It rained like a monsoon. Oh my God, it was awful. I hate 7-inning games, but in this situation, it would help our pitching staff. in this series and for the tournament.
Yeah, that's 4 fewer innings you got to throw, and you're queuing up
Right.
for, that's half a game for Tuesday, right?
Yes.
And so again, maybe you move that Friday game up early because it doesn't look like the worst is maybe Friday night into Saturday morning.
But it sounds like, Saturday you got to play at 5 o'clock because you're playing on SEC Network.
Yeah,
They're going to do everything. They're going to do everything they can to make us play
to keep it. Okay, good deal. All right. All right. We'll ask a listener question. This is a great one. Tyler Wilcox. Do we get a Cade Snell legacy weekend on his return to the barn this weekend?
Would be awesome. I saw the Bama the right field Rangers account tweet something about it today. And let's be honest, Auburn could use Cade Snell this year, both on the mound and at the plate. It would be awesome to see him go down there and tear it up.
Yep, Megan.
Like Aiden Holloway is going to do for our basketball team.
That's right. Megan, do we get a Cade Snell legacy weekend?
I mean, I want to see it.
Yep. Yep.
He did what's saying in his because he did the preview for Auburn. That's what he's saying. He's like, well, took a while, but I finally made the right choice.
That's right. Gotta love a gump. We get the Cade Snell return to Auburn. We get the Billy Batts farewell tour. Everything's shaping up. All right. All right.
Billy Batts' little sister is one of the best horsewomen for the Auburn.
Is she really?
Team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is she really? Didn't know that.
She's a 2-time SEC champion, I think.
That's
already.
fantastic.
And that's really impressive considering how young their horses are.
Exactly. Yeah. So and Douglas went down there on horse scholarship or whatever.
That's awesome. That's fantastic.
She actually rode a horse down there.
Yep. Rode it all the way down.
I was going to say on horse scholarship. I love that.
All right. Probably next to the last thing, our weekly segment where we turn to our good friend Drew Champlin, who has the direct line to Mark Jennings, who won't return my calls when I ask him to be on the podcast. But Drew, you've talked to Mark this week, got a few more player comparisons. We'll kind of go down the list again. Let's start this week with Ben Hess. Who does Mark give a comparison of Ben Hess to?
Yeah, bear in mind, Mark Jennings 55 is his Twitter. These are all coming from him. He's watched more film than anybody. If anybody ever wants to throw a quick guess out, it's always going to be someone who is, throws and bats the same. I've got baseball cards. Hopefully you guys can see him a little bit better. But Ben Hess, another big guy.
No.
Is that Marvin Freeman?
You're Marvin Freeman, Drew?
Ooh.
Yeah, Marvin Freeman. Big 6'6", 232 out of Chicago. Mark saw him play in Chicago a few times. I've got my Fleer 94 card of Marvin Freeman. So just go Google and watch some Marvin Freeman strikeout clips.
I was a big Marvin Freeman guy.
Absolutely.
With the Braves.
Yep.
To be honest, from close to Chicago, so that works.
Yeah.
That's a pretty incredible comparison by Mark Jennings, the best in the business. Marvin Freeman, I never would have thought of that, but obviously he's broken down a lot of Hess's film, and
we wouldn't think of these things though.
Yeah,
it takes somebody
Marvin,
who's truly the best in the business.
He's probably got a lot of VHS of Marvin and Braves games on TBS, from the 90s and
Skip Carey calling it. Yeah.
All right. Here we go. Here's the next one from Mark. Matt Gassetti, our catcher.
Yeah, Matt Gassetti, comparable to another guy who played in the major leagues for several years, known for his defensive prowess. Can you see it?
Is that?
I've never heard of this person in my life.
I can't read it.
It's Ron Karkovice, who played for the White Sox in the 90s.
Ron Karkovice.
This is it's a Donruss Grand Slammers card. And so Mac has hit 2 Grand Slams this year. Ron Karkovice hit an inside the park Grand Slam on August 30th, 1990.
Wow, like a catcher with an inside the park Grand Slam.
Yeah.
So Ron Karkovice. So that's I mean, if Mark says it, it's it's probably.
I don't like that one as much.
No.
Didn't watch enough Hawk and Wimpy on WGN in the 90s.
Yeah, the very white Ben Hess and the very black Marvin Freeman was a great one. I don't know about Ron Karkovice.
You'll like this next one then. There's not that many black catchers though.
Charles John.
You're gonna love this next one.
Sandy Alomar.
Yeah, Sandy. Yeah. All right, here we go. All right, the last one. I think it's only fitting on his farewell tour as he's terrorizing towns in the Southeast the last few weeks. Billy Batts, William Hamiter.
Any guesses?
No,
Big
I'm
time.
excited though.
Man,
right.
let me think about this. So, what era? Give me
Well, he played all through the 80s,
okay.
a little bit in the 70s as well.
Willie
Yeah.
McGee.
Tom Hurd, Cardinals.
Come on, guys, think of some big bats.
Big Bats.
Andre
man.
Dawson.
No,
A lefty bat though, maybe. Warren Hardy.
yes, a lefty bat, righty thrower.
Yeah.
Dave
Yeesh.
Winfield.
No, he's a
you,
righty.
you got the Dave right.
Dave Parker,
Parker.
the
Dave.
Cobra.
So Mark
Cobra.
Jennings compares Billy
Cobra.
Batts to Dave Parker. Did Mark ever see the throw Dave Parker made from right field to home in the 1979 All-Star game and ask himself, could Bill Hamiter have made that throw from
It reminded me of the
Bill
throw
Hamiter could not have
made
made that throw in 2021. I guarantee you that.
Tell
It reminded me of the
Jennings.
throw he made in the second game of a doubleheader against Ole Miss, or maybe the first game. He threw somebody out from left field last year against Ole Miss in the regular season finale. So the way Will Hamiter's hitting, I think Mark said that the Dave Parker comparison was.
All right, I can do the bat for Billy Batts and Dave Parker, the Cobra, by the way. I can't look past the arm issue here.
Yeah, well, Dave Parker played until he was about 41 or 42, so you got to figure
That's
that
how old
arm,
Will Hamiter is now.
you got to figure that arm strength that might have died down a little bit by 1991.
Also,
All right, well,
props to the guy who created the Will Hamiter apology form. That was incredible. That was really, really good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That was great. I'm happy to see this happening for any of our guys, finishing strong. But man, Bill Hamiter going through,
No, and I feel bad. I'm publicly apologizing right now. After that Georgia series, I was like, why is he our DH? Like, his grandmother was my fourth grade teacher. Like, I love the family. But, like, I'm like, why are we sending him up here? And dude is just, like, turned it on.
Just a slump. It was a slump. The guy's
awesome.
hitter.
I think at that point, though, the options were him and Snell. And then Snell has proven himself to be the superior option of those two. But now that, Slight kind of just really fell down, Hamiter's really stepped in. And
the other thing I think was maybe you kind of had the mindset, okay, let the young guy, let's see if one of these young guys can get it going, and if they didn't separate themselves or show a big, if there wasn't a big difference in the two, you go with the guy that's got, how many bats. Hammer's got, 400 plus probably at bats in college baseball. That's kind of the deal with rosters, right? You got, young guys are going to have a hard time getting into the lineups because of, 23-year-old MBA student is still on the team. And so I think it's up the quality of college baseball, but right. I mean, it's probably an impact that you're seeing there. Thanks to Mark Jennings as usual. Again, we'd love to have him on. I know technology isn't his thing. Maybe we can get him on without being on camera. He might join by phone, probably a payphone somewhere. But love to get him on sometime. All right, last two things. I mentioned Matt Gassetti. Congratulations, SEC Community Service Team. Great guys on our team. Let's just say that it's they're we love watching them. We love to see what they do on the field. A lot of guys doing great things off the field in the classroom, and that's a tribute to the whole program and what we got built around them. Hunter, do we have anything from our guy Owen Parliament this week?
We absolutely do. They had their conference tournament this past weekend. They are in the SUNY conference because there's enough state universities of New York to have their own conference. And they played New Paltz opening up. Our guy just went off in the conference tournament. Our guy ended the season hitting 381.
Whew.
Yes.
Wow.
He went 8 of 13 in the conference tournament with 8 RBIs.
8 RBI. Wow.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they only played 3 games. They lost to New Paltz and then beat Plattsburgh and then lost to New Paltz again. They lost to New Paltz 5 times in their last 6 games of the season. But good to see our guy, Owen Parliament.
Is this like a 16 league or something? I mean,
it's got to be. But good to see our guy, Owen Parliament, close out his career.
Probably it.
Yeah, I feel like that's got, unless we have a spot for him next year.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'd be all for it. I mean, we talked a little bit about Zane Denton. We need a third baseman. Hey, I'll take him back. I'll take Owen. I mean, he's going to swing that kind of bat. I'll take him back.
If we don't have a roster spot for him, he can join us on the podcast. He is more than
that's
welcome.
true. Yeah, I'd love to get Owen on the podcast. When do y'all work on that? We'd love to, let Owen know that he's a subject of an Alabama baseball podcast every week. Well, good to hear, and again, great career, especially the finishing end of it for Owen, and probably our last Owen Parliament update lets you figure out where he gets his job after.
It honestly made me sad.
Yeah, it's kind of the end of an era. Yeah, it's sad to move on. It's like moving on from Greg Goff. It's real sad. Anyway, all right. All I had on the agenda, folks. It's been a lot of fun. We went long this week, but I don't feel like
really long.
I don't feel like we were like babbling about nothing. I mean, I really think it was good content. I hope hey, if you're if you're watching this, you probably at the end of it. But I mean, watch it in two segments, because I think there was a lot of good here, and we really enjoyed bringing it to you, as we always do. We'll do this again. We'll try to do it probably early next week. Maybe we'll record like Monday night. The tournament will start Tuesday, maybe even Sunday night. And that way we'll kind of have it, things will have crystallized. The conference season will be over. We'll be framing up the SEC tournament. We'll know
Sunday
if
night might even be good.
Sunday might be good. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, because that'll be in advance of it. We'll know, and then we'll kind of have an idea. Did we get 2 out of 3? Did we get a sweep? It'll kind of change the dynamic a little bit. Enjoyed it. Again, if you like what you're seeing here, follow us at Weekly Joe Pod on Twitter. Follow any of these guys on Twitter. You'll find them out there. We love doing this and having a great time. Thanks again to Christian Sykes. Thanks to Crimson Crossover for putting this together for us. Enjoyed it. Let's go sweep Auburn, and we'll talk to you next week. Thanks, everybody.
Roll Tide.
Roll
Roll
Tide.
Tide.
Roll Tide.